Have you ever wondered how life on Earth evolved over billions of years? Our story begins with the dawn of evolutionary thought in the minds of early Greek philosophers like Empedocles and Anaximander. These thinkers, in their quest for understanding, proposed rudimentary notions of how life might have changed over time. Empedocles, for instance, suggested that all living things were formed from the four basic elements: earth, air, fire, and water. Anaximander, on the other hand, believed that life originated in the sea and evolved into its present forms. However, these ideas were largely speculative and lacked the empirical evidence we value so highly today. They were, nonetheless, the first steps toward a future where the concept of evolution would take root and grow. These ancient philosophers, without the scientific methods we have today, laid the groundwork for a theory that would revolutionize our understanding of life. Fast forward to the 18th century, when ideas about evolution began to take on a more solid form. A prominent figure of this era was the French naturalist Buffon. His radical suggestion that species might change over time was a departure from the static view of life that had prevailed. Buffon's ideas, although met with resistance, planted the seeds for the concept of evolution. Around the same time, another Frenchman, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, proposed his theory of inheritance of acquired characteristics. Lamarck suggested that organisms could pass on traits they had acquired during their lifetimes to their offspring. For example, he hypothesized that the long neck of a giraffe evolved because ancestral giraffes had to stretch their necks to reach leaves high up in trees. And this lengthened neck trait was then passed on to future generations. These theories, while not entirely accurate, brought us closer to the truth about how life evolves. The year 1859 marked a turning point in our understanding of evolution. This was the year Charles Darwin published his groundbreaking book on the origin of species. In this seminal work, Darwin proposed a revolutionary idea that would forever change our understanding of the natural world: the theory of natural selection. Before Darwin, the prevailing belief was that species were unchanging, created as they are and remaining the same throughout time. Darwin, however, challenged this notion. He suggested that species evolve and adapt over time, driven by a process he termed natural selection. Natural selection, as Darwin explained, is the engine of evolution. It is a simple yet powerful mechanism that operates on the principle of survival of the fittest. In any given environment, some individuals possess traits that give them an edge, an advantage in survival and reproduction. These advantageous traits, Darwin suggested, are more likely to be passed on to the next generation. Over time, these traits become more common within a species, leading to gradual change and evolution. It's important to note that Darwin's theory did not spring from thin air. He spent decades observing, studying, and meticulously documenting the natural world. From the diverse species he encountered on the Galapagos Islands to the variation in domesticated pigeons, Darwin's observations formed the bedrock of his theory. His ideas were not mere speculation, but the result of careful examination and thoughtful analysis. Darwin's theory of natural selection was indeed revolutionary. It provided a scientific explanation for the diversity of life, a diversity previously attributed to divine creation. It offered a framework to understand how species could adapt and change, how new species could emerge, and how all life on Earth could be interconnected. The publication of On the Origin of Species sent ripples through the scientific community and beyond. It sparked debate, incited controversy, and ultimately led to a paradigm shift in our understanding of life on Earth. Darwin's theory, backed by decades of observation and study, set the stage for the modern understanding of evolution. As the 20th century dawned, another key piece of the evolutionary puzzle fell into place. In the early 1900s, a quiet revolution was taking place in the scientific community. The work of Gregor Mendel, a monk who had experimented with pea plants in the mid-19th century, was rediscovered. Mendel's work was groundbreaking. He had meticulously tracked traits across generations of pea plants and discovered patterns of inheritance. This observation of predictable inheritance patterns provided a mechanism for how traits could be passed from parent to offspring, a concept that was missing in Darwin's theory of natural selection. Mendel's work on genetics, however, was largely overlooked during his lifetime. It wasn't until decades after his death that his research was unearthed and appreciated for its profound implications. The rediscovery of Mendel's work in the early 20th century represented a significant turning point in the history of evolutionary thought. Now, with a more complete understanding of inheritance, scientists could better explain how advantageous traits could persist through generations. This realization led to what is known as the modern synthesis of evolutionary theory. The modern synthesis essentially married Darwin's theory of natural selection with Mendel's principles of genetics. But what exactly is the modern synthesis? Simply put, it's an integrated theory that combines natural selection and genetics into a unified framework. It suggests that genetic mutations create variation within a species, and natural selection acts upon this variation, leading to the evolution of the species over time. The modern synthesis didn't just reconcile Darwin's and Mendel's theories. It also brought together various branches of biology under a common theoretical framework. From ecology to paleontology, from taxonomy to physiology, all these diverse fields could now be understood within the context of evolution. This unification marked a major milestone in the history of evolution. It laid the groundwork for our current understanding of how life evolves, setting the stage for more complex theories and discoveries that continue to shape our understanding of life on Earth. The modern synthesis unified various branches of biology under a common theoretical framework, marking a major milestone in the history of evolution. With the advent of molecular biology, scientists began to delve deeper into the mechanisms of evolution. Imagine a world within a world. That's exactly what the science of molecular biology brought to the table. It was like peering through the looking glass into a universe that was, until then, largely uncharted. And in this microscopic world, evolution was etched into every DNA sequence and protein structure. It all began in the mid-20th century. The discovery of the structure of DNA in 1953 by James Watson and Francis Crick was nothing short of revolutionary. It was as if they had unlocked the secret language of life itself. This was the foundation upon which the field of molecular evolution was built. So how does molecular evolution work? Well, let's start with DNA. DNA is like an intricate blueprint that contains all the instructions needed to build an organism. The DNA sequence, composed of 4 different types of molecules called nucleotides, is what makes you, you. But here's where it gets interesting. These sequences aren't static. They change over time due to various factors like mutations, genetic drift, and natural selection. These changes or variants are what drive evolution at the molecular level. Let's take a moment to talk about proteins. Proteins are the workhorses of the cell. They're involved in virtually every process that keeps an organism alive and kicking. And guess what? They're encoded by our DNA. Changes in DNA sequences can lead to changes in protein structures, which can ultimately affect an organism's characteristics. Scientists have been able to trace the evolution of species by comparing these DNA sequences and protein structures. It's like piecing together a complex jigsaw puzzle of life's history, one molecule at a time. This molecular approach has given us some profound insights into how life has evolved. It's shown us that all life on Earth is interconnected, bound by a common genetic language. It's revealed the slow, gradual changes that have shaped life over billions of years, and the sudden leaps and bounds that have led to new species. This exploration of the molecular world opened up new vistas in our understanding of evolution. In recent years, evolutionary theory has continued to evolve, incorporating new discoveries and facing ongoing challenges. Concepts like punctuated equilibrium, introduced by Stephen Jay Gould and Niles Eldredge, have added depth to our understanding of evolution. This idea proposes that species undergo evolutionary change in rapid, irregularly spaced bursts, punctuating long periods of stability, a departure from the traditional view of slow, gradual change. Another significant development is the field of evolutionary developmental biology, often referred to as Evo-Devo. This field seeks to understand how changes in developmental processes can lead to evolutionary changes in form and function. By integrating the study of embryology with evolutionary biology, Evo-Devo has provided new insights into the origins of the incredible diversity of life on our planet. However, as evolutionary theory continues to grow and adapt, It also faces opposition. Some religious groups reject the idea that life evolved through natural processes, preferring to believe in a divine creator. These beliefs often stem from literal interpretations of religious texts, which can conflict with scientific evidence. Scientifically, the evidence for evolution is overwhelming. Fossils, DNA sequences, biogeographical patterns, and countless other lines of evidence all point to the same conclusion. Life on Earth has evolved over billions of years. This evidence comes from a wide range of scientific disciplines, from paleontology to genomics, all converging on the same story of life's history. It's important to remember that science is not a belief system, but a method of inquiry. It's about asking questions, gathering evidence, and refining our understanding of the world. The theory of evolution, like all scientific theories, is subject to testing, refinement, and even rejection if the evidence warrants. But so far, the evidence strongly supports evolution as the best explanation for the diversity of life we see around us. Despite challenges, the theory of evolution remains the most robust explanation for the diversity of life on Earth, a testament to the power of scientific inquiry.